aerobatics and air shows and competition for the last 12 years. He's an oral surgeon and practices in northern New Jersey. He lives with his family in Wyckoff, New Jersey. Flying as his wingman, the blue S2B pitch is Ron Spencer. Spencer is better known as a captain for major airlines and has over 17,000 hours of flight time. He has been doing aerobatics since 1979. He just moved to New York's Lower Hudson Valley to the Millville, New Jersey area with his family. Their first maneuver at Airshow Center. Nice big old 4G symmetrical loop. The airport in excess of 4 Gs right there about the backside of that loop. The flight display you will see the team do this afternoon is demonstrate the grace and lyrical beauty of flight. We all can enjoy the experience of these two aircraft soaring in perfect harmony. Watch as Ron and Ron come up there, kick the hard left rudder for the hammerhead turnaround. They pull the vertical, climb straight up, kick rudder, pull left rudder, top up for the hammer turnaround, work their beautiful S2 pitches back to Airshow Center. As Ron Saglimbene in the red pitch flies lead, and Ron Spencer flies his wing. Another hard pull, the forward half G across the top, holds a 45 degree down and rolls back the upright, the half roll back the upright for the half Cuban turnaround. Formation flying came about as a result of a large number of aircraft involved in air combat engagements during World War I almost 90 years ago. Trying to get aircraft to fly near each other without hazard requires a lot of training. Aerobatic formation flying harkens back to the 1930 Cleveland Air Races when the U.S. Army and then the U.S. Navy began flying in front of crowds while doing loops and rolls. Many of the pilots who fly in these early aerobatic teams were considered hot shots, and sadly, quite a few of them lost their lives learning the hard lesson of how to perform aerobatic maneuvers in formation safely. Much of the display that the Saglimbene aerobatic team is doing is what your great-grandparents might have seen in an air show in the 1930s. Sometimes maneuvers that you'll see will look easy, but are actually the hardest. Is that way that the rollover, which you see coming by now, at Ron Saglimbene flies inverted, and Ron Spencer rolls his blue S2 pitch around sag. Formation flying requires intense concentration and very specific duties from each pilot. The flight lead positions the entire flight display as close to the Airshow Center as possible, compensating for wind and density altitude, while the wingman must focus completely on the lead's aircraft. The flight lead has to be smooth and predictable so that the wingman can maintain position. Each pilot must trust the other totally. The flight lead trusts his wingman not to collide with him, and the wingman must trust the flight lead not to fly him into anything. They call this next maneuver the roller coaster. Watch as they take their S2 pitches. Just as you would ride on a roller coaster, pull up, up, up over the top, come down the backside. Now, as we stand here today, folks, we are standing, sitting, lying down in one positive G. That's 1 times the gravitational pull. The pilots out here this afternoon, we do in excess of 7 to 10 positive Gs, 10 times their body weight inside that aircraft. When you hear me call a negative maneuver, that's when they roll the airplane upside down. Now they're hanging from the seatbelts inside the airplane. That is a negative G. They'll be doing excess of 7 to 8 negative Gs, trying to push themselves out of the aircraft. The roller coaster by Ron Spencer and Ron Saglimbene. This next move, they call the wing over. Watch as Ron. I'll call Ron Sag. We'll call it Sag and Spence. Now, Sag is thinking flying the red aircraft, and Spence is in the blue airplane. They call this winger, pull the aircraft up, rolled over top the wingtip, and Spence stays on the inside of Ron or Sag. The pit special is built very strong. The airplane, again, built out in Afton, Wyoming. They are two S2 pits, but with the different variants of the S2 pits. They're powered by an IO 540 Lycoming engine of 260 horsepower. At Airshow Center, watch Spence and Ron. Up and over top, they're going to call this the double loop. They're going to follow it up. They come through the backside. Right about now, they're about 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3.5 Gs right there in the bottom side of that loop. And go right into the second loop. Another 2.5, 3.5 G pull there. Again, looking up, see down, coming over the top, right up and down, about 1.5 to 1, about 0G right there. Now the G-load again starts climbing back up as they come out the backside of the loop, the double loop. It's been said that aviation is not inherently difficult, it's just terribly unforgiving. This famous quote sums up many of the acts you will see here today. It takes years of experience and dedication to be able to fly these aircraft on the edge of what their capability is and to do it safely. It's a tribute to all the pilots that you will see here today that do not have to work this hard out here for you this afternoon. This next maneuver they call the curved hammer. Watch as Sag and Spence take the aircraft, roll the airplanes left, fly 90 degrees away from the crowd, go straight up. You get to see the little curve right there at the top of their flight. Sag will call left rudder, kicks the hard left rudder for the hammerhead, turn around with a curved hammer. The members of the team, Ron Saglimbene and Ron Spencer, met 4 years ago. Sag was flying aerobatic contests and Spence was just getting seriously involved in the sport. Sag began coaching Ron Spencer, and it wasn't long before Spence was competing against him in advanced aerobatic competitions. Their friendship and respect for each other's flying skill is demonstrated here today. This next maneuver is called the Cuban 8. It's called that because the smoke contrails describe the figure 8 laid down on its side. Oddly enough, this maneuver has very little to do with Cuba. In 1936, a pilot named Len Povey was competing in an international aerobatic contest in Miami. He was working for the Cuban government as a flight instructor at the time. He performed the maneuver which you're watching for the first time in that competition. When he landed, the reporters asked him the name of the maneuver. Knowing who was paying his bills, replied, "It's a Cuban 8." Ever since then, it's been known as a Cuban 8 or the Sideways 8. The aircraft you're seeing are the world-famous S-Series biplane for Pitts. The first Pitts was designed by Curtis Pitts in 1940s. Based on a proven high-performance rugged 1930s fighter design, they were constructed with wood and metal tubing covered with fabric. Each aircraft weighs in around 1,200 pounds empty, and again, it's powered by an IO 540 Lycoming 6-cylinder horizontally opposed air-cooled engine. Now watch as Spence and Sag take their S2 pitches and perform what they call the barrel roll. If you can imagine the airplanes flying into the end of a barrel and rolling all the way through the inside of the barrel and exiting out the other side, that is the barrel roll. About 2.5 years ago, during the early stages of development of the split-image aerobatic team, one of Sag's and Spence's friends was killed while flying aerobatics. Her name was Kathy Jaffe. Kathy was a close friend and instrumental in the starting of the team. She loved aerobatics and especially air shows. In many ways, she exemplified the kind of person who flies aerobatics. This next maneuver is dedicated to her and all airshow performers who have lost their lives pursuing their dream of the perfect flight display. As long as the team flies together, their classic heart maneuver will be known as Kathy's Heart in her honor. Folks, have your cameras ready. heart. One of the most basic maneuvers in aero combat is the ability to meet the force head on. Now watch as Spence to the left and Sags to the right perform the mirror hammerheads at opposite ends of the field. What you are seeing here today may look easy, but I got to tell you folks, this is difficult. An easy way to tell how good a team flies together is how well they make their rejoins up. Spence and Sag make it look easy for the rejoin. You take two airplanes flying opposite directions, opposite in the fields, and rejoin that quickly, they make it look simple. You get to see multi-plane formation later on the program when our United States Air Force Thunderbirds come in and fly for us. The split image team of Ron Saglimbene and Ron Spencer. Get your cameras out of the mere flyby. Saglimbene sags upside down. Spencer is right side up in the blue aircraft. Now watch as Saglimbene comes in with his pitch, makes a standard pitch landing. As Spence goes up there, just has a good old time on his downwind leg. Spence will show you the capabilities of the S2 pitch in losing altitude. As Sag approaches from the right-hand side of the airport, Spence is going to go to the left-hand side of the airport. Watch two aircraft. Put your right eye on Sag, put your left eye on Spence. Okay, who did that? As Ron Saglimbene puts it on the ground, Spencer, a nice series of rolls right down the center of the runway, showing the capabilities of the S2S pitch. He rolls right down center line. Now Spence is going to climb the altitude and take the aircraft in for his final approach. And watch what he does with his S2 pitch. Let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I got 9 rolls down the centerline runway there, and he's still rolling. I think he's unwinding right now. Rolled left, turning right. Spence brings his S2 around his final approach. Slips it right on down the runway in. Left rudder, right aileron, use the side of the airplane for a brake. He's going to disappear almost on the other side of their taxiway out there, so we won't be able to see him land on the runway. We're going to get both of them rejoined on the taxiway out here. Actually, that is the runway, isn't it? The runway out here, where Sag is waiting for him right now. And again, hold your applause for performance to get the airplane.